Before you scroll past this, stop. Because somewhere out there tonight, there's a man sitting in his car, staring at his phone, replaying a conversation that didn't go the way he hoped. There's a woman lying awake, wondering if she read the signs wrong. There's somebody watching this right now, heart in their throat, thinking, I don't think she's interested. I don't think this is going anywhere. Maybe I should just let it go. If that's you, don't touch that phone yet. Don't send the goodbye text. Don't build the wall. Because before you make a decision out of fear, I need you to hear something first. And if this message finds you at the right time, if even one sentence in the next 40 minutes speaks straight to what you've been carrying, do me a favor. Hit subscribe right now before you forget, because this channel exists for exactly this moment, the moment where faith has to speak louder than fear. Now let's talk. Here's what nobody tells you about rejection, about waiting, about reading somebody's silence like it's a verdict. Most of the time, you're not actually responding to what's happening. You're responding to what you're afraid is happening. And there's a difference between the two that could change everything for you today. THELIE, fear tells you first. Fear never introduces itself as fear. It shows up disguised as discernment. It whispers, you're just being realistic. You're just protecting yourself. But protection and fear are not the same thing. And God never asked you to armor your heart with assumptions. Think about it. How many times have you decided something was over before it was actually over? How many doors did you close with your own hand because you were terrified somebody else might close it on you first? That's not wisdom. That's wounded pride wearing wisdom's clothes. There's a moment in Scripture where the disciples are in a boat and the wind is against them and they're straining at the oars, exhausted, afraid. And Jesus comes walking toward them on the water, and their first response isn't relief, it's terror. They think what's approaching them is a ghost, a threat, something to run from. And he has to say the words that echo through every fearful heart in every generation since. Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid. I want you to sit with that. Sometimes the very thing you're bracing yourself against, the silence, the slow reply, the unclear signal, isn't a rejection walking towards you. It's an invitation you're too afraid to recognize because fear has trained your eyes to see danger everywhere. Here's the truth. You cannot read someone's heart through the lens of your own insecurity and expect to see clearly. If you're constantly checking for signs she's not interested, you will find them, real or not, because a frightened mind is a brilliant editor. It cuts every scene that doesn't confirm what it already believes. God is not the author of that kind of fear. He gives a spirit of power and love and a sound mind, not a spirit of constant self-protection dressed up as maturity. So before you decide anything today, ask yourself honestly, am I seeing clearly or am I seeing through fear? God's timing eyes, not your timeline. Let's talk about waiting, because that's really what's underneath all of this, isn't it? The not knowing. The in-between, the space between I like her and does she like me back. That space feels unbearable, and we want God to hand us the answer key right now so we can stop feeling exposed. But here's something I've come to believe with everything in me. God is never late, but he is rarely early and almost never on your schedule. Think about Abraham and Sarah waiting decades for a promise. Think about Joseph, sitting in a prison cell for years after being given a dream about his future. Think about the Israelites, wandering what should have been an 11-day journey for 40 years. Every single one of those stories has one thing in common. The waiting wasn't wasted. It was the workshop where character got built, where faith got tested and came out stronger, where the person who finally walked into the promise was not the same person who first received it. What if the waiting you're in right now, the uncertainty about whether she's interested, whether this will work out, whether you're wasting your time. What if that waiting isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? Maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe she's not ready yet. Maybe God is doing something in both of you that can only happen in the not yet, in the space where you have to trust him instead of controlling the outcome. Here's what I know. Anxiety wants an answer now because anxiety cannot tolerate mystery. But faith can sit in the mystery. Faith can say, I don't know how this ends, And I'm still going to walk forward with dignity, with patience, with hope that doesn't make me anxious or desperate. There is a strength in a person who can wait without shrinking, without spiraling, without turning every unanswered text into evidence of catastrophe. That strength isn't natural. It's supernatural. It comes from a settled trust that your worth was never up for a vote in the first place. Not hers, not anyone's. You we're, never, meant to, beg FR, proof OF, you are O on words. I need to say something plainly because I think a lot of us have gotten this backwards. You are not chasing her interest to fill a hole. You already have a foundation, and her response, whatever it is, was never supposed to be the thing that tells you who you are. So many people approach love like an audition. Like if she doesn't clap loud enough, the verdict is that they're simply not enough, not attractive enough, not interesting enough, not worthy enough. And that belief did not start with her. That belief started long before this, in some earlier wound, some earlier rejection, some earlier voice that told you your value was conditional. Here's the truth that has to become bedrock under your feet. Before anyone ever looked your way with interest or without it, you were already fully known and fully loved. Not because of your performance, not because of what you bring to the table, simply because you exist. That's not a self-help slogan. That's the actual posture of a father who knit you together on purpose, with intention, before you ever had the chance to prove anything to anyone. When you know that in your bones, something shifts. You stop reading every quiet moment as rejection. You stop needing her to constantly reassure you that you matter because you already know you matter. And ironically, this is what makes you magnetic. Not desperation, not anxious pursuit, but a calm, rooted confidence that says, I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I'm not going to shrink myself or inflate myself trying to earn something I already possess. That kind of confidence isn't arrogance, it's rest. And rest is deeply attractive because everyone can feel the difference between someone who needs them and someone who genuinely wants them. Reading, he, signs, wit, ute, losing, your peace. Now let's get practical because faith isn't opposed to wisdom. It works alongside it. Maybe she hasn't replied as fast. Maybe the conversations have felt shorter lately. Maybe you're genuinely unsure. Here's what I want you to do instead of spiraling. Separate the facts from the story you're telling yourself about the facts. The fact might be, she took 6 hours to reply. The story you built on top of that fact might be, she's losing interest, she regrets this, I've already lost. But 6 hours is 6 hours. It is not a verdict. It could mean she's busy, tired, distracted, processing, or simply living a full life that doesn't revolve around instant response times, which, honestly, is healthy. Ask God for discernment, not for confirmation of your fear. There's a difference between praying, God, show me the truth, and praying, God, confirm what I'm already afraid of. One is open-handed. The other is trying to get God to co-sign your anxiety. If you genuinely don't know where you stand with someone, the most faith-filled, dignified thing you can do is simply ask. Clearly, kindly, without manipulation or games. Not out of desperation, but out of the security we just talked about. I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I want to be honest about where I am. How are you feeling about this? That single act of clarity, spoken from confidence rather than fear, will tell you more in one conversation than 3 weeks of anxious guessing ever could. Stop interrogating silence. Start pursuing clarity with courage, not with control. Healing, he, hear that's ow, reedy, bean, broken before. I know some of you watching this aren't actually afraid of what's happening now. You're afraid of what happened before happening again. Maybe there was someone before her who did lose interest. Maybe there was someone who did walk away, who did leave you standing there wondering what was wrong with you. And now every quiet moment with someone new gets filtered through that old wound, and you find yourself protecting a heart that's still bleeding from a cut nobody's tended to. Here's what I want to say to you gently but firmly. That wound needs to be brought to God before it gets to keep making decisions for your future. Unhealed pain doesn't stay in the past. It shows up uninvited in every new relationship, wearing the old face, whispering the old fears, making you defend against a threat that isn't even in the room. You cannot build something new on a foundation that's still cracked from something old, not without first letting God do the repair work. This is where real courage lives. Not in pretending you're fine, but in bringing the actual wound to the actual healer and saying, I don't want to carry this into what could be good. Heal what's still tender in me. His strength isn't reserved for the strong. It's made perfect. It's most fully seen in weakness, in the very places you feel most exposed and most afraid. You are allowed to have been hurt. You are not required to stay defended forever because of it. Walking forward, which dynity, WH hate verse HE decide us. Let's land the plane here because I want to leave you with something you can actually hold on to tomorrow morning. Maybe she is interested and you almost walked away because fear got louder than faith. Maybe she isn't, and that's going to hurt for a while, and that's okay. Grief over a closed door is not weakness, it's honesty. Either way, here is what personal responsibility under God's guidance looks like. You show up as your full, honest, whole self. You communicate with courage instead of games. You release the outcome into hands bigger than yours, and you keep your dignity intact no matter which way this goes. That is not a passive posture. That is one of the most disciplined, mature postures a person can hold. It says, I trust God enough with my future that I don't have to manipulate, chase, or perform my way into love. I trust him enough with my heart that even if this door closes, I believe there is a bigger story being written that I cannot yet see. Strength and weakness doesn't mean pretending you don't feel the uncertainty. It means feeling it fully and choosing faith anyway. It means letting your hands stay open instead of white-knuckling an outcome that was never fully yours to control in the first place. You were made for a love that doesn't require you to shrink or perform. And whether that's found in this particular relationship or another chapter God is still writing, your worth isn't waiting on her answer to be settled. It's already settled. So here's what I want you to do. Stop replaying the message. Stop analyzing the punctuation. Stop building a courtroom case out of silence. Instead, pray. Ask God for clear eyes, a steady heart, and the courage to either move forward with honesty or release with grace. Whatever she decides, decide this for yourself first. You will not let fear write your story anymore. If this message met you exactly where you are today, subscribe to this channel so the next word finds you too. And share this with someone who's been staring at their phone tonight, afraid to hope. Let them know. Don't be afraid. Take courage. He is with you in this too. Walk in faith, not fear. I'll see you in the next one.